So just wanted to give you guys a preview of the final page. This is what I finished yesterday. And I'm going to be working on a new one today. And just have to open it up. So this is a character that I'm working on that is going to be a robot, basically. It's this like robot dressed up in Western clothes. And his face is going to portray emojis rather than actual face expressions. So I kind of wanted to just do a quick sketch to get an idea of what he would look like. And his face is just like a screen, basically. So whenever you have certain emotions or feelings or whatever, he would just display that on the screen using emojis, using, like, as you see here, exclamation points. So it's just something that I've been thinking about, and I just wanted to do a quick concept of it. Pretty simple. I didn't really want to go into too much detail with them, but I do want to define it, and hopefully at some point just make them look even more interesting. So I'm creating a new layer on top of it, and I'm going to decrease the opacity on the one underneath it to start the next stage. And I'm not sure I'm going to keep everything as it is, but I figured starting is better than just constantly thinking about it. And just kind of working on it as I go. kind of a play on what's going on now. You know, you look at social media and the way people are expressing themselves is just by emojis. I'm still not really sure what he's gonna look like. Or it, rather. I don't think it's gonna have like a specific gender. Still trying to come up with them, still like thinking about it in my head. Like what the personality is gonna be, what the character is gonna be like. Oh, hey, Bex, you're back. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to see if I can develop him to be more of a comic book character. And I'm sure he's going to change over time. Like I've done this several times where I would start out with some idea and then keep changing it over and over until it looks right. I don't have a name for him yet. I haven't really thought about that. Maybe that's something that I'll think over actually after I end the stream. I'll come up with one. I have a whole story for it. You know, I have a whole story for the book and everything, so I just got to take some time and really think about like what role he's gonna play, how he's gonna tie into it. I have a vague idea, just gotta develop it more. But really the challenge is to just doing it, you know, just sitting down and doing it. That's like the biggest challenge, because once I personally, and I think a lot of people would agree, I don't know how it is for you, but once I sit down and start working on whatever it is, it starts to like manifest itself as things start to kick into gear. But the biggest challenge is to just sit down and do it. Like I'm sure if I sit down on a weekend and start writing out the script one page at a time, I'll get closer and closer. It just sounds really intimidating, you know, having to start with nothing, basically. No pages. But this is something that happens with me very often. First I'm intimidated by it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. You know, I don't know what's going to come out of it, whether it's going to be time well spent or not. And then once I sit down and start working on it, I get really into it. And good things start to come about. I'm pretty sure that's the same case for almost everybody. I think most people are just really intimidated and, let's be real, a little scared. And they let that fear and intimidation just completely rule them, and they don't sit down and do any of it. I remember I spoke to somebody and they said, dreaming is the easiest part. And it's true, because you can continue to dream and you can continue to have your imagination run wild, and that has its satisfaction. And I think people get a little carried away, including myself. Get carried away with that and never actually sit down to manifest any of those dreams. Just like to live in those dreams. But I think just like, this whole like drawing thing, where at first I'm like intimidated by the thought of it developing into anything and being slightly ruled by fear. Once I actually sit and start focusing on it, the love for the craft, whether it's playing music or whether it's drawing, really starts to overshadow that. Like at some point I don't even think about that or even care to think about it. I'm just so into what I'm doing. I think a lot of people will have that result as well if they get over that first step of just like not even thinking about it, and just sitting down and doing it. Not even giving any room for that doubt to grow. Beck says, yeah, starting is the hardest part. Why I take myself somewhere where there is nothing to do but work on it. There is to do. That's right. I highly agree with that. I agree with both things. Sometimes it's great to do that. You just, you have a goal, you have it in mind, and I think that's why people like studios, where they're like, okay, I'm going to get out of my house, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to go to the studio, and where it's only just stuff that I work on, whether it's like music or whether it's painting or writing or whatever it is, like where it's just only that's around you, and it kind of pushes you to just focus on it. Whereas sometimes when you're like in your comfort zone at home, you get easily distracted, right? You got your TV there, or you got video games there, or just being able to sit on the couch and like browse through social media. That ends up being like all of your time. For me personally, I like my working at home. There is a sense of comfort to it, but I also take it as a challenge to have it be my motivation. Like, yeah, I'm in a comfortable place. I don't have to commute anywhere. I don't have to do any of that stuff. And I have my entire place kind of, or the working place kind of designed in a way where it like inspires me. I have like illustrations up and comic books that I really like to have that be a motivating factor. And talking about this, actually, kind of brought an idea of like what this robot would be doing. I'm gonna say he's playing music. He's playing on a guitar. Beck says, I don't mind working at home, but I find it inefficient. I get distracted too easily. I'd rather be somewhere with bottomless coffee, free Wi-Fi, and no distraction. Yeah, it sounds great. What do? Do you write? Are you a writer, or is it something else that you're working on? Yeah, it's also a lot of fun, actually. Like, I remember when I was working on a comic book, and where I was at the moment, where I was living at that time, things were kind of sour as like a significant other, and things were kind of sour, and I really liked just not being around that at the time. And I would just go and sit at like this coffee shop, and just listen to music, and I ended up doing a lot of like comic book panels there. Like, I had to finish this one issue, and staying at home was just like not the right environment for it. So I would go and I would sit there and for like hours on it, and I would just draw comic book panels, and I ended up finishing several pages like that. The question is, do I want to make this guitar look futuristic? Or maybe pick like a different instrument, not necessarily guitar. Oh, right on. That's great. Beck says, I'm a teacher. Sounds weird, but the creative part of me is when I design curriculum and lessons. Probably sounds a bit odd, but I genuinely love how creative I get to be coming up with ideas and then them manifesting into real life lessons and learning. Hey, that's great, man. That's a really great profession to be in. The fact that you're inspiring young kids and you're shaping them for the future, it's a great job. I commend you. But yeah, there's definitely creativity to that, of course. Absolutely. Teaching is also an art form. I think that right there is a piece of art right there, for sure. Having to come up with different creative ways to teach, to inspire, and that in return inspires you as well. That's definitely a piece of art form right there. I mean, the whole job itself is an art form. Being able to interact and understand each and every student, understanding the class environment as a whole, understanding each student individually, and being able to curtail your lessons in ways where most students, if not all, which I know is really difficult. I personally also taught for some time. I was teaching drawing, and I was around like 30 kids or like 20 kids, and that becomes really overwhelming, you know, because you want like for me, I wanted everybody to learn. I wanted everybody to like pick up on all the material, but you get all sorts, and it's kind of hard to make sure that everybody feels inspired, you know. It's kind of having to accept that can't reach everybody, you know, with the limited time that you have. But the pursuit was always there. Like whenever I was teaching, I always wanted to make sure that it reaches all the students as much as possible. Then I had like students who were like just attention seekers. They didn't care for like the material at all. Their pursuit was how much attention can I get. So if I could be destructive in a class, if I could make another student react, you know, that was kind of their goal. And that becomes really challenging as well, navigating through that. How young are the students? Still trying to figure out whether I want it to be guitar. I'm thinking, what other instrument would there be? Could play the flute, but he doesn't really have like a mouthpiece for it. What other instrument? I'm gonna look up and see instrument and just see some ideas. And there's violin, which would be pretty cool. Beck says, I'm a class teacher of 6 through 7, but I also teach music to 11-year-olds and history 11 to 15. Mainly doing the class teacher part though. Yeah, that's a challenging age, 6 to 7. For me, personally, my favorite was from teens up, because I felt like the material that I was teaching, they were able to really focus, and at that age, they really had a better idea of what they wanted to do, and they had more interests, whereas younger ones, for me personally, were pretty difficult to get engaged in the class and to like really enjoy learning. Like a lot of them just wanted to play all the time, or just wanted to be really boisterous in a way, and I like that, but it was difficult to teach the lessons that I've had. Yeah, that's true. No reason the robot has to play an instrument that exists. That's true, but I do want to give some sort of basis first. Like I want to start out with something, and then shape it out and then morph it into something else maybe in the future. Just kind of want to start with an idea. So I'm just kind of browsing right now, trying to see what's a good a trumpet playing robot. No, it still requires a mouthpiece. I forget about that. But he has no mouth. That it's a screen. There has to be some like finger picking instrument. Beck says, art is hard to reach for some kids. It is easy to get them to do impulsive art, but reflective art takes a certain mindset. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they have to focus, develop the focus, develop the concentration. And I feel like that's more developed when they're older, when they're at least in their teens or whatever else. And then they have like, you know, some focus developed from all the other classes that they had to learn and that sort of thing. There's part of me that wants to do like upright bass. Like he would play upright bass. Let's see, upright bass. The idea that I got is like he would have an instrument that he would play, and that instrument can turn into some sort of weapon. But I've yet to figure out what weapon that's gonna be. Like, I'm not into guns. I don't really care about guns. And I want to be creative enough to come up with something that isn't that. Yeah, it's like the most typical thing. Maybe something closer to what it actually does, like how he plays the instrument. It puts people under a spell. So he's kind of like a spell caster using the instrument. And that's kind of what happens in reality, right? Like people listen to music and then they want to move their body to the music, and they forget about whatever is going on in their head, and they're consumed by this like physical emotion. No, magical for sure. I love everything to do with the idea of like mages or powers rather than, you know, actual instruments of violence. Because I think powers could be metaphorical in a sense, you know. They don't necessarily have to be like as literal as people would usually take them. Like for instance, like in the X-Men, when you have like Colossus and he has iron skin basically, or like, you know, impenetrable skin, that could be a metaphor for a person who has thick skin, right? Is psychologically really strong, I'd say. So I kind of like playing on that. I'd rather play on that rather than it being like very literal and just being like, this is a killing machine that nobody could stop, or machine guns or whatever else. I think there's so much of that and I'm really bored by it. And I didn't really want to do guitar because I think it played way too into Stranger Things. You know, now you see like everybody. There's a guy who got a tattoo of that scene from Stranger Things of Eddie playing the guitar and having all those demons fly around him. It's an awesome scene. I just don't want to. I don't want to replicate that. I don't want to keep doing that. There's like so much of that out there right now. But I just saw this like really cool upright bass as a reference, and liking it. I like how it's turning out. So I guess this is going to be more of like a sketch as well than the next stage. Because the next stage is going to be really defining the lines. And I also want to give his clothes a certain design. It's like in between 1700s and modern day, like futuristic. Like originally it was the motivation came from like the Three Musketeers. So I wanted to play on that. I might have to look up the Three Musketeers again and see what like their costume was like and what the designs were like. Hey, it was great talking to you, Bex. I stream pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I start at 8 p.m. I usually do drawing basics at the beginning, and then the next session is different. They change. But you could check out in the Twitch channel. There's a video that I posted. It's called Patreon Page Launch, and schedule change, and over there's like a list of what is going on each day. But I do stream regularly, so you can always catch me then. And if you hit the subscribe button, you get notification when I'm going live, so that way you don't miss it. But thanks for tuning in, man. It was great talking to you, or woman, I'm not sure, but it was great talking to you. Good luck with your schedules and your teaching, and I'll hope I see you soon. Yeah, I think I'm going to give more design to the base itself, to give it a mix of like more of like modern day futuristic vibe. But this is a good basis for it, like a good starting point. It's a cool shape. I haven't really seen any upright bases with this sort of shape to them. I'm gonna look up actually what Three Musketeers, what their uniform was like. And I remember the really old school one. With the one with like Charlie Sheen in it, I think it was. That style, I'm gonna say. I mean, it's pretty close to it, but they had like a cross in the middle of the chest. And I want to substitute that with something else. I can give him gloves and see how that works. Just trying to play around with the design and kind of match the Three Musketeers hat. Or maybe I just might keep my design, but I just want to see what that looks like. It's kind of hard to make that decision without first seeing the result. Might be a little too long of an arm. Got the shoulder here. I think the arm has to extend further out in order for the wrist to curl onto the base of the neck of the base. Now I want to try to maybe make it like a foldable one, right? So maybe in some ways create little sections to indicate that. And maybe as like this case. That he throws on his back. My idea is like it sucks itself into this case, like since it's the future, it like dematerializes and turns into something compact. But for the sake of making it interesting looking, maybe it's I don't think book bag is gonna be good. Maybe like a stick that it turns into, like some sort of metallic stick that formalizes into like a base. I don't know. It's getting there little by little. Ideas are forming. The image is forming. This is what I was talking about. This is like the biggest challenge. It's once you're over the hump and you're actually in the process, it starts to develop itself. probably going to be doing more of this tomorrow. There may be a surprise stream. But that's not 100. Over the weekend, I've been in such a habit of drawing, I don't want to break it. It's not even I don't want to break it, I just like it. I want it to continue. So I might do a surprise stream over the weekend, either on Saturday or Sunday. It really depends on how much of my other projects I can get done. For those of you curious what this reference is, actually I'm just going to show it to you, why not? It's a really cool looking upright bass. I'm going to try to pop it on the screen right now. That's it right there. It's a Ramirez upright bass. How cool does that look? I think that's a really good mix of like futuristic and modern. There was a period where I was like, maybe I should learn bass, because I do like how it sounds too. But yeah, I really think it looks cool. I'm gonna try to play around with it, but the overall shape, I want it to keep that way. This is going to be a long time project, I think. Hopefully I'll get better results quicker, but the goal is to really flesh them out and make it interesting. Also maybe work on some backgrounds as well to add to the character. So I got some work to do over the weekend, y'all. I got to think about a cool environment for him to be in that's going to be futuristic. It's going to play into the story and that sort of stuff. And I think I'm going to make it so that the main character of the story runs into him while he's playing. And then from there on, that episode or that issue is going to be about that. Maybe like closer towards the end of one issue, he's going to come across them, and then the next issue, it's going to be how they kind of tie into each other's stories. And it's big stuff, big stuff. All right, y'all. Fortunately, I do have to end the stream. Stick around. Well, no, don't stick around. Subscribe, and maybe you'll get a notification over the weekend for me to have like a surprise stream where I'm going to continue to work on this. But if not, you can always tune in Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Art Lounge Alley. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys soon.